Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be ranking every NFL starting quarterback heading into the 2025 NFL season. And real quick, before we get into my rankings, this is how good I think each quarterback is now, not how good of a season I think they will have. But getting into the rankings, beginning 32nd or last, I've got the Saints starter, either Tyler Shough or Spencer Rattler. So obviously, the Saints currently have a quarterback battle ongoing between rookie Tyler Shough and Spencer Rattler, and it's a pretty bad situation for the Saints. Tyler Shough is a 25-year-old rookie, and he could be good, although I'm not the biggest Tyler Shough fan. He's always struggled with injuries, and in his 6 years in college, he had just 1 year he was very good, but not even elite. And for Spencer Rattler, he enters his second NFL season, played 7 games for the Saints last year, and he threw 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. But the Saints, they're in a tough spot at quarterback. I would start Tyler Shough if I was them, but I don't really think either player is that good, and I've got the Saints starter as the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. 31st, I've got the Colts starter, either Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. So another quarterback battle we have here, and another situation that's not great. Obviously, Anthony Richardson still has a ton of potential, but he needs to stay healthy. He's played in just 15 of 34 possible games in his 2 NFL seasons, and when he has played, he also hasn't been that great, especially as a passer, as he's thrown just 11 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. And if Daniel Jones is a starter, he is just not that good, and he is definitely a below-average quarterback in the NFL. But if it was up to me and the Colts, I would start Anthony Richardson and give him one last chance to prove himself to be a franchise quarterback. But at the moment, he's unproven, and the Colts starter comes in at number 31. Coming in at number 30, we've got Joe Flacco. So this is actually the second time I'm recording this part of the video, because as I was editing, the Browns named Joe Flacco their starting quarterback. But Flacco, he's definitely not great. He was okay with the Browns in 2023, where he threw for 323 yards per game, 13 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions in 5 games. But then last year with the Colts, he was not nearly as good, as in 8 games with the Colts, he threw for 220 yards per game, 12 touchdowns, and 7 picks. But maybe Flacco can refine his 2023 form with the Browns now that he's back with the Browns, but he's getting older, not getting any better, and I've got Joe Flacco at number 30. 29th, I've got J.J. McCarthy. So we finally get into the quarterbacks where we actually know who's going to start for each team, and I've got J.J. McCarthy as the worst known starter. I'm not a big J.J. McCarthy fan. He wasn't asked to do a lot at Michigan. Obviously, he missed all of last year with injury, and there's definitely potential for J.J. McCarthy. Obviously, we've never seen him play a snap of NFL football, so he could end up being really good. Plus, he's in a great situation in Minnesota, being surrounded by a great supporting cast. Plus, he's got a great coach in Kevin O'Connell. But right now, I don't think J.J. McCarthy is that good. I'd like to see him prove himself at the NFL level, and I've got him at number 29. 28th, I've got Cam Ward. So the number 1 overall pick checks in at number 28. He was great at Miami last year, and he's been really good all throughout college, where he was for a long time. But he's got a lot of potential for the Titans, but obviously he's never played a snap of NFL football, so can't put him too high. But I got Cam Ward at number 28. 27th, I've got Bryce Young. So Bryce Young is at number 27, and he's never really been that good in the NFL. He was bad as a rookie in 2023, and last year he started the year looking equally as bad, but then he did show some improvement towards the second half of last season, as in the second half he threw 12 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. And because he had a promising second half, that is why I do have him at 27 as opposed to 29 being the worst known starter. But Bryce Young, I mean, he showed improvement, but he still wasn't anything too great. But if he can build on that, I think he could have a pretty solid season. But right now, heading into the year, Bryce Young, not that great, and he comes in at 27. Number 26, we've got the Jets' new quarterback, Justin Fields. So Justin Fields is at number 26, and I'm not a very big Justin Fields fan. He's a great runner and can make some great plays with his legs, but when it comes to actually throwing the ball, it's not great. He started 6 games for the Steelers last year, and he was okay. He threw 5 touchdowns and 1 interception, averaging 184 yards per game. Now, that's definitely not terrible, but you would like more out of your starting quarterback. But Justin Fields, he's okay. We'll have to see what he can do with the Jets, but he enters the season at number 26. 25th, I've got Michael Penix Jr. So Michael Penix Jr. enters his second year for the Falcons, and this year he gets to start right away. He started the final 5 games for the Falcons last season, where he threw for 775 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Now, that's not crazy, but it's a very small sample size, and I'm still a really big Michael Penix Jr. fan. He's got a strong arm, he's extremely accurate, and I'm really excited to see what he can do now having a full season as a starter. But obviously I can't rank him too high because he's only played 5 games, but I've got Penix at number 25. 24th, we've got Drake Maye, another quarterback entering his second season, and he's very similar to Michael Penix Jr. He gets to enter this season as the unquestioned starter for the Patriots, and he showed some flashes of what he can do last season. In 10 games, he threw for an average of 227 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Now, obviously, the 10 picks in 10 games definitely isn't ideal, but he showed a lot of potential, and Drake Maye enters the season ranked number 24. 23rd, I've got another second-year quarterback, and that is Caleb Williams. So Caleb Williams had a pretty solid rookie season. He threw for 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Now, those numbers definitely aren't elite, but they're very solid for a rookie quarterback. And I think Caleb Williams might be a little slept on coming into this season because all the talk about rookie quarterbacks was about Jayden Daniels last season, and rightfully so. But Caleb Williams, he had a pretty good rookie year, and I've got him at number 23 entering this season. 22nd, I've got Trevor Lawrence. So you might think this is a little low for Trevor Lawrence, but he really hasn't been that good. He's entering his 5th NFL season, and he had 1 year where he was pretty good, and that was in 2022. In 2023, he took a step back, his turnovers were up, and then last year he got hurt and only played in 10 games. But even before he got hurt, he still wasn't that good, with 11 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, while averaging just over 200 yards per game. But Trevor Lawrence, he's still young, the potential's still there, and maybe a new head coach and an offensive-minded Liam Cohen can help him, but right now I don't think Trevor Lawrence is too good. And it's kind of crazy we're still talking about his potential as he's entering his 5th year. But Trevor Lawrence is at number 22. 21st, I've got Russell Wilson. So Russ comes in at number 21, and he's definitely not the quarterback he used to be, but he can still be a pretty solid quarterback in the NFL. Last year with the Steelers, he played 11 games, threw for 2,482 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. And we definitely saw that Russ can still play at a fairly high level, and we definitely saw that in his first 6 games last year before he cooled off, although that's what he does every year. He always starts the year on fire and then comes back down to earth. But Russell Wilson, he's definitely not a franchise quarterback anymore, but I think the Giants have themselves a pretty solid bridge quarterback, and I've got Russell Wilson at number 21. Number 20, we've got a very similar player to Russell Wilson, and that's Aaron Rodgers. He's not the elite quarterback he used to be, but last year with the Jets, he showed he can still be a pretty solid quarterback. And I definitely think Aaron Rodgers was a lot better last year than some people like to give him credit for. Because he definitely wasn't an MVP, but he threw for 3,900 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. And that was top 10 in passing yards and passing touchdowns. But Rodgers obviously gotten older, but still can be a good quarterback, and I've got him at number 20. 19th, I've got Kyler Murray. So Murray enters at number 19, and he's a tough one to rank, because he's okay, not terrible, not great, and he definitely hasn't been quite as good as he was before he tore his ACL, but he's still a decent quarterback. Last year, Kyler Murray threw for 3,851 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. But Kyler Murray, he's a tougher one to rank, nothing too crazy, I've got him at number 19. 18th, I've got Tua, and Tua's another tough one to rank, because he's pretty good when he's healthy, but that's exactly the problem with him, and he can't stay on the field. But last year, Tua was limited to 11 games, and in those games, he was pretty good, as he threw for about 2,800 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Now, obviously, the numbers are pretty good, plus he led the league in passing in 2023, but if the best ability is availability, it's hard to rank Tua too high when he's never on the field, so I've got Tua at number 18. 17, I've got Geno Smith. So Geno comes in at number 17, and he's coming off a solid year with the Seahawks, where he was 4th in the NFL with 4,320 passing yards, plus he had 21 touchdowns, although he also threw the 3rd most interceptions in the NFL with 15. But Geno, he's definitely getting older, now 34, but he was pretty solid last year, and we'll see what he can do this year now with the Raiders being reunited with Pete Carroll. But I've got Geno Smith at number 17. 16th, I've got Dak Prescott. So Dak is another tough one to rank because last year definitely wasn't his best year, but he also got hurt. But even when Dak was healthy last year, he wasn't nearly as good as he was in 2023. But last season, in 8 games, Dak Prescott threw for just shy of 2,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. And those 8 interceptions were one shy of matching his total for the entire season in 2023. But a tough year for Dak Prescott in 2024, and because of that, I've dropped him down to number 16. 15th, I've got Bo Nix. So Bo Nix comes in at number 15, and he had a really good rookie year. And you might think this is a little high for Bo Nix, but I really like what he did as a rookie, and I think he's a little underrated entering this season. But in his rookie year, he threw for 3,775 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. And he also led the Broncos to the playoffs. But Bo Nix, he had a really good rookie season, and if he can build on that into this season, we might be talking about him in the top 10 range entering next season. But right now, I've got Bo Nix at number 15. 14th, I've got Sam Darnold. So Darnold is another tough one to rank because he had a career year last year with the Vikings, but it's also the only time in his career where he's been anywhere close to good. Plus, Darnold was playing in a great situation in Minnesota. But even though he had a great supporting cast around him, he was still really good. I mean, he was top 5 in passing yards and passing touchdowns, as he threw for about 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Now, Darnold definitely didn't end the year on a good note, being terrible in Week 18 and the playoffs, but for the majority of last season, Darnold was still one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, given his situation and it just being one season, I don't want to overreact and put him too high, so I've got Darnold at number 14. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see how he looks with the Seahawks this season. Coming in at number 13, I've got Brock Purdy. So Purdy's at number 13, and he's coming off a down year with the 49ers. And it kind of plays into the narrative that he's a system quarterback, although, to be fair, any quarterback is not going to be as good when they're without some of their best weapons. But last year, Brock Purdy threw for 3,864 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 receptions. Now, definitely a step back from what he did in 2023, but I still think Purdy is a pretty solid quarterback, and I've got him slightly better than average at number 13. 12th, I've got CJ Stroud. So Stroud comes in at number 12, and he's coming off his second season in the NFL, where apparently he had a sophomore slump. Although I do think sometimes that's overblown when talking about CJ Stroud. Because he wasn't terrible last year, he just wasn't quite as good as he was as a rookie, which was elite. But last year, CJ Stroud threw 3,727 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 receptions. Solid numbers, but not elite. But I also think when talking about CJ Stroud, you have to factor in the fact that he was playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in football, and his top 2 receivers missed significant time. But I still think CJ Stroud is a good quarterback, and I've got him at number 12 entering this season. 11th, I've got Jordan Love. So Jordan Love is at number 11, and he's another guy who took a slight step back last season. As Jordan Love threw for 3,389 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Although he was battling knee injury for the first several weeks of the season, which greatly impacted his play. But Jordan Love, definitely not quite as good as he was in 2023, but still a pretty solid season, and I've got Jordan Love at number 11. Getting into the top 10, at number 10, I've got Justin Herbert. So Justin Herbert checks in at number 10, and he's another tough one to rank, because he definitely has the talent to be a top 5 quarterback, but he seems to just be missing something. And I think that's playoff success. And obviously that was a big thing last year with Justin Herbert throwing 4 interceptions in the playoff game. Plus, Herbert's coming off a down year for his standards, as he threw for 3,870 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Now, the yards and touchdowns were definitely down for Herbert, but I would blame that more on the Chargers and how they ran the ball so much, and not directly on Justin Herbert. But I still think Justin Herbert is a great quarterback. I mean, he could be better. Definitely didn't have his best year last year, but still a pretty good quarterback. I would like to see the Chargers ask him to do more, but I've got Justin Herbert at number 10. Coming in at number 9, I've got Jalen Hurts. So some people might think this is low for Jalen Hurts, but I would disagree. And I think Jalen Hurts is actually kind of overrated entering this season. Because he can be a pretty good quarterback, but he's not elite. He can be elite, but he has not been elite for the past couple years. This past year, Jalen Hurts threw for 2,903 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Now, he also did have 14 touchdowns on the ground, but a lot of those were just a tush-push. But Jalen Hurts, he didn't get to 3,000 yards or 20 touchdowns, and it's hard to have a quarterback be elite when they haven't even reached those numbers, which aren't even that good. Now, I do have Jalen Hurts over Justin Herbert because he has had more playoff success and obviously won the Super Bowl, although Jalen Hurts was not the reason the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and he was actually really bad in the Eagles' first 2 playoff games, and I see it more as Jalen Hurts was on the Eagles, who were a super team, and he was kind of just there. But Jalen Hurts, a good quarterback, not great. I've got him at number 9. 8th, I've got Baker Mayfield. So Baker Mayfield comes in at number 8, And while Jalen Hurts is overrated, I think Baker Mayfield might be slightly underrated as he enters this season. Last year, Baker Mayfield had a really good year. He was third in the NFL with 4,500 passing yards. He was second in the league with 41 touchdowns, although he did throw 16 interceptions, which tied for the most in the NFL. But Baker Mayfield, when his other numbers, like yards and touchdowns, are so good, I'm willing to look past the interceptions a little bit, and that's why I've got Baker Mayfield at number 8, and he has had a really good past couple seasons with the Buccaneers. Number 7, I've got Matthew Stafford. So Stafford is at number 7, and he's coming off another good season with the Rams. His numbers aren't elite, but they're still very good. Last season, Stafford threw for 3,762 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, and he also led the Rams to the divisional round of the playoffs, where they were the closest team to taking down the Eagles in the playoffs. But Stafford, despite getting older, he's still a very good quarterback, plays at a high level, especially in the playoffs, and he's my 7th best quarterback entering this season. Number 6, I've got Jayden Daniels. So Jayden Daniels comes in at number 6 after a historic rookie season, as he threw for 3,568 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. And Jayden Daniels also ran for a rookie quarterback record 891 yards and 6 touchdowns. And on top of all that, Jayden Daniels also led the Commanders to their first conference championship game in 33 years. But Jayden Daniels had a really good rookie year. I'm not ready to put him in the top 5 quite yet, which is why I've got him at number 6, although he is definitely very close. Coming in at number 5, I've got Jared Goff. So Jared Goff's my number 5 quarterback, and some people might think this is a little high for Jared Goff, but the number 5 spot was really tough to come up with, because I didn't want to have Jayden Daniels at number 5, because I think he should be number 6, not quite top 5 just yet. I don't want Jalen Hurts 5. I think Stafford and Baker Mayfield are both top 10 quarterbacks, so they're not quite top 5. It was very tough to come up with who I wanted at this number 5 spot, but I ended up deciding on Jared Goff. And he's coming off a really good year, and probably the best season of his NFL career, as he was second in the league with 4,629 yards, and 4th in touchdowns with 37. But Jared Goff, he had a really good year with the Lions last year. It will be interesting to see how he looks without Ben Johnson as his offensive coordinator, but Jared Goff's my number 5 quarterback entering this season. 4th, I've got Patrick Mahomes. So this might seem a little low for Mahomes, but he just hasn't been as good over the past couple seasons. In fact, he's coming off the worst season of his career, as he didn't reach 4,000 yards for the first time as a starter, plus he tied a career low, which is 26 touchdown passes. He also threw 11 interceptions. Now, even though last year was a really bad year for Mahomes and his standards, he was still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and I've still got him at number 4. Coming in at number 3, I've got Joe Burrow. So Burrow's at number 3, and he's coming off an insane season last year with the Bengals, where he was arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. He led the league in both passing yards and passing touchdowns, as he threw for 4,918 yards and 43 touchdowns. And if the Bengals were better last year and maybe made the playoffs, Joe Burrow probably would have won MVP. But Joe Burrow, he was great last year, and I've got him at number 3, but I wouldn't hate it if you wanted to put him higher. But I've got Burrow at number 3. And then getting into the top 2, I mean, we all know who they are. It's just really personal preference of which order you want. I've got Josh Allen at number 2. You could say he should be number 1. That's perfectly fine. I'm not really going to argue with you. But Josh Allen, he's the reigning MVP, and he had a great year last year. 3,731 yards, 28 touchdowns, and a career low, just 6 interceptions. Plus, Josh Allen also ran for 531 yards and another 12 scores. And Josh Allen did all that with a not great receiving corps. But Josh Allen is my number 2 quarterback coming into the season. And at number 1, I've got Lamar Jackson. As I said a second ago, if you want to have Lamar Jackson 2, Josh Allen 1, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But I've got Lamar Jackson at number 1. And he's coming off the best season of his career, especially as a passer. He threw for a career-high 4,172 yards and broke 4,000 yards for the first time. And he also set a new career high with 41 touchdown passes, which was tied for 2nd in the NFL. And on top of all that, he threw just 4 interceptions. Plus, you have to factor in what he did on the ground, and he ran for 915 yards and 4 touchdowns. But Lamar Jackson was insane last year, and he is my number 1 quarterback entering the 2025 NFL season. But that is how I would rank every single starting quarterback heading into the 2025 NFL season. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.